Hi there, this video's been a long time in the making. This is 4 whistles for 4 seasons. Some of these videos are strictly seasonal, but the other ones have dovetailed nicely around them, so I hope you find something that's of interest to you. Hazel is usually the wood of choice, but I've actually got a couple of pieces of lime here and a piece of olive wood from my garden. The pieces are about 12 centimetres or so long and about roughly the width of my index finger. I've pre-drilled them using a size 8 and 10 wood drill. It goes about 2/3 of the way along the length, and I've also drilled a lanyard hole at the top too. And tool-wise I'm using a Swiss Army knife. The first cut is with the saw, and it's about 1 centimetre from one end, and that's going to be the mouthpiece, and it has to go down far enough just to reach the drill hole. Like that. And the next move is to use some angled knife strokes to form the top of what will become the sound chamber. You'll also need a selection of small seasoned twigs, and we're going to cut those to size to fit in the mouthpiece. I've just cut and shaped this little piece of seasoned cherry wood and pushed it in until it's become a wedge fit. And what I've also done is mark just in there because I want to take that excess off, because we only want it as far as the first saw cut. I can feel with a bit of fine shaving on this it's a really nice fit, and you can also see where I've cut it off to the first saw mark that I mentioned earlier. What I'm going to do is cut this down a little bit because I still need to be able to pull it in and out, and that gives me a little handle to do so. Like this. The other purpose it has is still being able to blow the whistle without having a large twig in your mouth while you're testing it. And finally, we're just going to take a little slice of about 1 millimetre or so off the edge, like that. And when you insert the plug that you've sliced, the slice goes at the top. Let's give it a go. Yep, success. And that's with about 1 millimetre's worth of material off there. So all I've got to do now is just cut that off there, and I can glue it if I want to, but because it's a wedge fit I shouldn't have to. And that's the olive whistle, just for comparison. That is an elder whistle, and what I've done, I've put a little movable plunger in the end. Elder has pith running through the middle, so when you've cut your blank, if you want a sliding whistle, you've got to push that all the way out. If, however, you're just going to make a regular whistle, you just push the foam to the end to keep it airtight. And then whichever version you make, you finish it off like the other whistle that I've just demonstrated. One thing with elder, it is actually considered slightly toxic, so please bear that in mind if you use it, and it is worth doing some research on any wood you decide to use to make a whistle with. And like with the previous whistle, this mouthpiece will just need a little bit of a trim up before it's ready. The plunger of course goes in the other end, and what I've done, I've made sure that it's airtight, and then I've shaved a little bit off the actual shaft here, and to make sure that it's airtight when it goes in, I put a bit of Vaseline around the end. And back in the day when Bear Grylls was made Chief Scout, I helped Bushcraft and Survival Skills magazine cover the event for an article, and I also made it bear a whistle, and you can see the wild service tree wood one round his neck. So after that name drop, we'll move on to the summer whistle, which is also a twig whistle, but it's made in a slightly different way. This is the summer one because it is very seasonal and depends on the freshness of the wood. It's also called a willow and a sycamore whistle because those are two good woods to use to make it. Now you need fresh wood for this, and that's why it can only be done in the summer. You're looking for straight pieces at least 1 centimetre in diameter and at least about 12 centimetres long, so you've got a workable piece. And what you start by doing is scoring the bark all the way round. And then what you need to do is bash along this bark to separate it from the wood. Use something like a Swiss Army knife or this, just a blank piece of wood like this. Then at some stage, if you just keep gently trying, you'll feel it give, and there'll be almost like a little muted pop. And as you twist, I have to say it is rather satisfying when you successfully get the bark off. So slide the bark back on and cut through it to form a sound chamber similar to the spring whistle, and then when you've done that you need to take it off again. So keep that bit safe, and then we cut about 1/3 or so of the way down on the actual flesh bit of wood. What you slowly do is start taking slices out like this, and you're going to make the sound chamber. So you start digging your chamber out like this, it will get deeper, and then you've also got to take about 1 or 2 millimetres off the top here to form the hole to blow in. And that's what you should end up with, something like that. It is a little bit of trial and error, but only take a little off at a time. And then we slide the bark back on in the correct position and have a little blow. So the good news is that willow and sycamore, which this is quite readily available. It's also a very nice little project to try with your carving skills. The only thing is these don't last very long because the bark starts to shrink. To be honest, it's not my favourite one to do out of the four. And now on to autumn. This small but shrill whistle traditionally uses an acorn cup, but I'm going to use a modern equivalent. It's actually a piece of plastic, and it is a humble bottle lid. Right, I've got the acorn secured here just to initially show you, and that small dark V inside the gap between my thumbs is the actual only part of the acorn that's showing, and that's going to be part of the chamber that makes the whistle sound. And this is the setup from the side. So just like the acorn, you get your thumbs over, leave a little whistle hole. You can actually get them really loud. But you can make it even simpler than that. There's two body parts you can use. Your hands. And I'm not talking a wolf whistle either. This isn't too dissimilar to the whistle I've just shown you, but what you've got to do is make your hands into a ball that's airtight and leave a little gap over your thumbs, place your lips over your knuckles and blow. Sometimes it helps if you lick around the edge of your hands to get the seal. If you undulate it as well, you can make it sound like an owl at night. And now for the fourth and final whistle, you are going to need a tin can and a pair of scissors. Well, it's Christmas, isn't it? That's why I've put it here. It's not necessarily a seasonal one, but you'll have a few bevies at this time and it's very easy to make. This is a can whistle. And when I was involved in scouting, this is a how-to article I did for the scouting magazine back in the day. As I said, all you're looking for to make this whistle is an empty can and a pair of scissors. You can actually scrape the paint off with a bit of wire wool, but you need to do that while the can is full. Now from this tin can we're going to need two small strips of metal, and the way to get into it is either use a nail and a hammer to make a hole and put some scissors in, or the quick way, if you keep your hands out of the way, is just a short sharp strike like this. Now this is ready to be cut. You can see here it's no resistance at all, but obviously just be careful because it is a very thin edge. This is all the metal that you'll need from your actual can. It's one strip that's 1 centimetre by 6 centimetres, very approximately, and another one that is 1 centimetre by 4 centimetres approximately. The slightly unique thing with this whistle is it doesn't have any sides, but more on that later. Now the first thing you're going to do is take the smaller piece and wrap it around the larger piece and leave it sort of fairly loose like that, so there's a small gap that can be formed like that. And then what you do is put a small fold of a few millimetres so that it covers the cut piece of the smaller one there. And what you're basically doing is making the mouthpiece at the top. I'll just show you that in close up. There's your folded bit on the right. And what we're now going to do at the other end is just bend this right back like that. So you're forming a sort of 7 shape. And then what you have to do is roll this bit round like this so that it kind of stays in position. You can use a pencil or something like that to help with, or something thick like a marker pen or something like that. So that's the sort of shape you're aiming for. Ideally you want it about there, so it's what, 2-3 millimetres away from the mouthpiece, but it doesn't matter if it's not quite there, because this is the bit I was mentioning about having no sides. Your finger and thumb form them, so that now makes your whistle. What I actually did was cut 1 millimetre off the bit that made the sound chamber, because I was finding I couldn't quite grip it, but that's really, really loud.